I've been a long time, actually lifelong time fan of the sword and sorcery fantasy genre. And I was absolutely thrilled when Studio Canal released a 4K UHD of Red Sonja in 2023. Because all we had was a DVD for decades. And now, 3 years later, Arrow Video has also released their own 4K UHD version. So this naturally raises the question, which edition is superior? Or are they essentially the same release, just under two different labels? Well, today we're going to answer that by taking a detailed side-by-side comparison look between both editions. I'll be breaking down the two editions across key categories, such as color grading, technical and encoding presentation, image quality, and audio performance. Now, first off, before we begin, it's important to note that both of these releases do represent a significant upgrade over the previous standard definition DVD and the HD Blu-ray transfers. So let's start off with the color grading. So let's first take a look at Studio Canal's color grading. And Studio Canal's 4K UHD applies a very heavy greenish teal and orange hue across the entire image. And what this has done is it creates a modern stylistic look that significantly alters the film's original mid-1980s cinematography, but worse yet, it introduces very noticeable murkiness in backgrounds, reducing overall clarity and detail. And this is especially evident during the early stronghold attack sequence, where this heavy teal hue creates a very unnatural look and strong murkiness during that sequence. Also, whites, such as the robes in several shots, take on an unnatural orange hue. The teal color also affects skylines and wide landscape shots. Also, grass and foliage often appear very overly saturated. And the orange hue affects many shots throughout the film that look overly saturated, creating a stylized, modernized, overly processed look that is obviously not faithful to the 1985 origins. In contrast, Arrow Video's 4K UHD respects the film's 1985 origins and theatrical presentation, where Arrow Video used a new HDR10 and Dolby Vision grade, and Arrow Video carefully referenced the color grade against an original theatrical print to ensure color accuracy. And this 4K delivers a naturalistic and filmic color palette. We have clean whites, earthy browns, deep reds, emerald greens, and warm golds. Skin tones also appear naturally sun-baked here on the Arrow Video 4K, and the 4K presentation preserves a nice, pleasant warmth with the adventurous fantasy atmosphere of the original 1985 production and cinematography. So as you can see here, the color grading between the two editions is strikingly different. And now let's take a look at the black levels. Studio Canal's 4K, the black levels often appear slightly grayish or bright, and this overall reduces depth and obscures finer shadow detail throughout the film. And there's also some heavy crushing in many different scenes. Arrow Video, by comparison, offers us those deep, inky blacks with excellent shadow separation. And this allows for finer textures and details to emerge through the darkness with strong visibility and enhances overall depth. Now, there is one scene in particular that I wanted to take note of, and that's this scene here during the sword fighting practice scene between Red Sonja and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at the differences here. On the Studio Canal 4K disc, this sequence appears much darker, almost nighttime. On Arrow Video's 4K transfer, it retains the intended sunset lighting that matches how many of us fans remember the scene looking from its original presentation. And this is also how it looked on the previous DVD release here in the States. So again, very strikingly different. As far as the grain structure, Studio Canal's transfer exhibits some very clumpy or muddy grain, particularly in darker areas. And during other scenes, the image appears very soft and flat. And this is due to some heavy DNR scrubbing that was used and digital manipulation with the image. Arrow Video's 4K, on the other hand, preserves the natural film grain sourced from the original 35mm negative that delivers greater depth and dimensionality and a lifelike cinematic quality that's largely absent on the Studio Canal 4K. And Arrow Video maintains the authentic filmic character of the 1985's production, reinforcing the movie's filmic appearance. But now let's take a look at the encoding and bitrate differences here between Studio Canal and Arrow Video. Now both editions are encoded in HEVC H2.65 at 2160p resolution. However, Studio Canal uses a 66GB disc and features a very inconsistent bitrate, often fluctuating in the 50s and occasionally peaking near 89 Mbps. And this was within the same scene. These variations causes really noticeable shifts in clarity and brightness throughout the film. Arrow Video 4K utilizes a much higher capacity disc at 100GB and maintains a much more consistent and elevated bitrate, which typically ranges from the low 90s, and I saw it peak at 109 Mbps. And this results in noticeably sharper, cleaner, and much more detailed imagery with superior stability. Well, now what about the audio? Is there any difference here between the Studio Canal and Arrow Video's 4K? Now both editions do draw from the same 2022 DTS 5.1 audio remaster, but they are handled much differently here. Studio Canal's audio features an English DTS HD 5.1 lossless track at 24 bits. However, it excludes the original English mono mix. Now, Arrow Video does have also a DTS English 5.1 at 24-bit, but it also includes a newly remastered PCM mono mix, sourced from the original theatrical mono track. So while both labels do use the same core 5.1 English mix, Arrow Video has done some fine-tuning here. When I compared the differences here between both editions, the 5.1 track on the Arrow Video 4K sounds much more refined and dynamic. Dialogue also came in clearer and better centered with improved ADR intelligibility. Ennio Morricone's iconic score benefits from having a greater scale and sounds much more open. And there's much better separation between the front channels and the rear channels with action sequences, with sword clashes, action effects, and environmental ambiances that delivers stronger surround activity and also has a modest but effective low-frequency bass response. On the other hand, the Studio Canal 5.1 mix, while it does sound crisp and clear, it also often sounds compressed and lifeless. Sound effects during action sequences and ambience can feel very thin and boxy. And honestly, when I was listening to this, it sounded more like I was listening to a 2.1 stereo mix rather than a 5.1 mix. So just like with the video presentation, the audio presentation is also strikingly different. So what's the final verdict here? At the end of the day, who's the winner? Well, Studio Canal's 4K UHD honestly does not go without merit. It remains a very solid upgrade over previous home video releases. However, it does have the problematic color grading choices and technical inconsistencies that do hold it back from being the definitive presentation. So for those reasons, I have to give it to Arrow Video's 4K UHD. It stands as the clear winner here and the definitive edition that delivers a much more faithful 1985 theatrical experience that us Red Sonja fans have been waiting for. But now the question comes, if you already own the Studio Canal 4K, should you spend the money to double dip and buy the Arrow Video 4K? Well, honestly, that decision ultimately comes down to personal preference. But if the differences outlined in this comparison matter to you, well, there's your answer. However, if you needed another reason to add Arrow Video's 4K UHD edition to your collection, well, take a look at this Arrow Video's limited edition box set. And to showcase everything included in this box set, I'm going to hand things over to my friend Ken from Kensscreenscene, and then afterwards we'll briefly cover some new supplemental features exclusive to this Aero video disc.
Are you ready to see what adventures await inside this box? As Aero's known to do, reversible cover art is the OG movie poster. But if you're not feeling it, this is what's on the other side. Comes with a grip load of movie stills. These are awesome. Production booklet, let's go! And if you want to feel like you're on a barbarian quest 24/7 when you're at home, reversible poster.
So Aero Video does include a few new special features here that are exclusive to the Aero Video disc only. So these are not included in the Studio Canal disc. So we have here 2 new 2026 audio commentary tracks. One with film historian and critic Eugenio Igalani and Troy Hallworth. And the second audio commentary track is with comic book artist and expert Dave Baxter. Dave Baxter provides a really deep dive into Red Sonja's mythology across from the comics to film and even into animation. It's a fantastic audio commentary track about the rich production and mythology of Red Sonja. And it includes 7 different interviews from filmmakers to film historians and biographers, diving deep into the production of the film and also on the poster artwork, production design, storyboards, the stunts and action sequences, you name it, they have it here. These interviews range from about 10 to 15 minutes and are all worth your attention. And the remaining special features are archival features that are carried over from previous releases. Well guys, there you have it, a comparison between Studio Canal's 4K UHD and Aero Video's 4K UHD of Red Sonja, and I think we know what the answer is here. As always guys, keep physical media alive and stay tuned for more 4K versus Blu-ray comparisons.
Twin Flicks presents 4K versus Blu-ray comparisons.